All right. Hello and welcome to the virtual public board meeting for Brentwood-Darlington Neighborhood Association. It is March 4th, 2021. You can view the slideshow that we're about to look through here at brentwood-darlington.org/about/public-records, and Maria will put that link in and all the ones I talk about in the chat. Our agenda tonight is a full one, and we've got some additions that'll come up in the miscellaneous board business at the end there, as well as community announcements. So we'll jump right into things with introductions. A reminder that we have virtual meetings until restrictions are lifted, and we use Zoom. And Maria will put the link to subscribe to our newsletter and the Facebook group in the chat. Quick look at your controls. Remember to mute when you're not speaking. You can raise your hand and you can look there for the chat. Your controls may look different. This is just an example to help you out. If you're on a smartphone, your controls may look similar to these. And if you're calling in from a landline, remember to use *6 to mute and *9 to raise your hand. And all these links are live in the slideshow and you can access those online, and they're usually also in the meeting minutes. We'll do quick introductions. We have a lot of folks tonight, so let's keep it brief. I am Chelsea Powers. My preferred pronouns are she, her. I'm the chair of the Neighborhood Association right now. Not my first meeting, been in the neighborhood about 5 years. And I first heard about BDNA through a National Night Out event. I will just call down the line as I see it here. If you don't want to share, you can say pass or just stay silent for a minute and we'll assume you don't want to. I'll pass it off to Maria now.
My name is Maria, she, her. I've lived in the neighborhood for about 4 years. This is not my first meeting, and I first heard of BDNA at the egg drop in the Brentwood Park.
Thanks, Maria. Pam, you're next on my screen.
Hi, Pam Hodge, not my first meeting, born and raised in Brentwood-Darlington. Not quite sure how I first heard about the neighborhood association, but I'd been involved in other neighborhood associations previously, and I'm the representative to Southeast Uplift Coalition from the BDNA board.
Thank you, Pam. Gail in the chat says she, her pronouns, and I can tell you that Gail's been with BDNA a long time and does movies in the park. Also, if you are new, if this is your first meeting and you would like to receive our land use newsletter, you can put your email in the chat or send it directly to Stephanie, who can introduce herself next and tell you why.
Hi, everyone. My name is Stephanie Frederick, she, her. Not my first meeting. I've been here, living here in Brentwood-Darlington for 4 years. I had heard about the neighborhood association before I moved here. It was one of the reasons I wanted to move to Portland. And so I hunted down the BDNA. As soon as I got here, I found Chelsea, and then I was happy and I joined. I'm the chair of the land use committee. We meet virtually every month. We have a little newsletter, lots of different kinds of projects going on. So if you would like to be on the mailing list for the land use, please send an email to bdlanduse@gmail.com.
Thank you, Stephanie. And Maria has put that email in the chat. Luke, you're next on my screen.
Hi, everybody. My name is Luke. I lived in Brentwood-Darlington from September 2019 till Valentine's Day, more or less this year, with Scott Goodman, who's also here. And I also work at Learning Gardens Laboratory across from Brentwood Park as the Learning Gardens Lab manager. So you'll have to hear me more momentarily.
Welcome, welcome. We're glad to have you back. Next on my list is Linda.
Hi, I'm Linda Goldser. I'm the director of the Multnomah County Master Gardener Demonstration Garden across the street from Brentwood-Darlington Park. And you'll hear from me later too.
Thank you, Linda. Anna, you're next.
Oh, I'm Anna Weichsel. It's not my first meeting. I have lived in the neighborhood. I'm living right on the corner of Woodstock and Brentwood-Darlington for 3.5 years now. I'm the chair of the Woodstock Neighborhood Association, and we collaborate a lot with the land use committee with Brentwood-Darlington. And I can't really remember how I heard about neighborhood associations. I think my first encounter was through a friend who asked me in my capacity as an architect to look at some plans for developments on the Woodstock Boulevard. And I think this is how I encountered neighborhood associations, to give my professional expertise.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Anna. Lynn, you're next on my screen.
Yes, I'm Lynn. She, her pronouns. It's not my first meeting. I'm actually the treasurer. I've been the treasurer for a couple of years now of the board. I've lived in the neighborhood for 27 years, and I first heard of the BDNA through a Facebook post.
And Lynn is an amazing treasurer. We are so lucky to have her.
Thank you.
Scott, you're next on my screen.
Hi all, my name's Scott Goodman. I use he, him, they, them pronouns. This is not my first meeting. I've been to a few Brentwood-Darlington meetings. I've lived in the neighborhood for, I think, what, 7 years, honey? About 7 years. I lived with Luke for, I don't know, 6 of those years then, 6.5. I heard about BDNA through being a neighbor here, and then also some different folks and I have collaborated to do the Brentstock Incubator's right-of-way improvement project. And so that's gotten me especially excited about collaborating with neighborhood associations.
Thank you, Scott. Kim, you're next on my list.
Hi, my name is Kim. I've lived in Brentwood-Darlington for about 6 years. This is my second meeting. I've actively sought out BDNA through Google to be more involved in the community, as it looks like we're going to be permanent residents of the neighborhood. Yay.
Welcome, welcome. Jason, you're next on my list.
Were there two Jasons, or I'm Jason Walebski. I thought I saw two Jasons, but he, him pronouns. This is my first meeting. I've been in Brentwood-Darlington about 6 years, and prior to that, Foster Powell and Mount Scott Arleta. So I kind of was familiar that most of the inner Southeast neighborhoods had neighborhood associations. So I just Googled it.
Welcome to the neighborhood. We're happy to have you in at the meeting. Let's see. Looks like Gus and Mel or Melissa, maybe. I can't see the whole name. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, good evening. My name is Gus Monteverde, and I've been in a neighborhood with my wife, Melissa, for going on 6 years. This is not my first meeting, but I'm kind of a returning to the meetings. I used to go to them in person once upon a time. And what else? What other claims to fame do I have? I'm neighbors with Stephanie. That's one of my coolest things that I could say.
That's what I say about you guys. That
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm happy to be here. Thanks, guys.
We're glad to have you back, and being neighbors with Stephanie is very excellent. Looks like Mary's iPad is next. Mary, are you able to unmute? All right, if Mary gets a chance, she can do that. Mel, you're next. Oh, there's Mary, hold on. Go ahead, Mary.
Mary Davis, she, her, not my first meeting, moved into the neighborhood in 1994. Heard about the BDNA through a flyer regarding the Safety Action Committee, which was a city-county effort at community policing. and jumped in with both feet to became the vice president, and later the president of the neighborhood association. And I bring you news from the Leach Botanical Garden each month as much as I can. Thanks.
Thank you, Mary. Next on my list is Mel.
That's just my wife. She's in a different part of the house. Sorry.
Understand.
Yeah.
Next, Gail already introduced through the chat. Looks like Shannon, are you able to introduce yourself yet, or are you still driving? We'll let Shannon go last. Eli?
Hi, everybody. My name's Eli, he, him pronouns. I'm legislative assistant for State Representative Jeff Reardon, so I like to come and hear what issues are top of mind for folks. And yes, we'll be working on getting representative here, hopefully at the April or May meeting. Thursdays are real tough for him because most of his committees meet on Thursdays.
Maybe we could work him into an all committees meeting time slot instead.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
We'll email. Next on my list is Hazel.
Oh, Ed.
Hazel, you're muted. Did you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, hello. It's Chris, actually. Hazel's my daughter. She's used my computer last, and I just didn't change it for this. She, her, we've been in Brentwood-Darlington for a couple of years now. I think I saw a flyer and thought, oh, I should sign into one of these meetings. And I did maybe 6 months ago and thought, wow, this is terrific. I should come every month. And well, my second time here.
Well, we're glad you came back. Welcome, welcome. I'll let Shannon introduce herself when she gets where she's going. I know she was driving. Are you there yet, Shannon?
I am here. Yes, sorry.
Go for it.
Hi.
Shannon, I think we lost you. Get better signal and come back to us. All right, did I miss anybody? All right, we're gonna go ahead and move on. When Shannon gets to better signal, she can let us know. So we'll go ahead and jump into community announcements. As always, we start with the Green Thumb site. And so Luke, you're here, you get to talk about learning gardens. Go for it.
Yahoo, thanks. So Learning Gardens Lab, well, there's so many things and it's been so long since I was able to join you and I appreciate that such a warm welcome coming back. I'll keep it brief. We continue to have a hiatus on any significant in-person programming outside of our staff continuing to grow vegetables through the winter and kind of organize and pivot. PSU, some folks might know, has seen a decline in enrollment and the like, and budgetary situations are always being cut back there. So we are optimistically applying for grants to continue my position to expand project and program opportunities in the space, and I'm going to be working hard till through the spring term that's coming up to do that. But we are planning plant sales for April and May, and I will go back and find those and put those in the chat, those dates for folks who are interested. And we're going to be doing our Harvest Share program again, hopefully expanded and honed in some fun ways. And I actually learned about the changes at Lane through the PPS properties person who paid a visit to the site the other day. And so we are going to be learning about what we do next in terms of our garden education.
Can you expand on changes at Lane?
I have heard that there is going to be maybe school swapping going on there. And I don't know if I am supposed to know that or not, but I do. And this is being recorded. So I don't know. That was a surprise to me when I heard it, especially because It's not a programming person who was telling me that, but curious to see what goes on there. So
Luke, what does that mean? What is school swapping?
it means that I've heard that Lane is going to be transferred to another school and that there would be another sort of educational opportunity would be moving into that place. So yeah, I thought I was late to the party.
There's been a sudden uptick in buses this week without notice. So BDNA folks, I think it's time to reach out to PPS and see what they're doing with our neighborhood school without alerting anybody. So, all right. Any other updates for Learning Gardens, Luke?
We are continuing our partnerships with Black Futures Farm, with OSU Extensions, Rodrigo Corona on our site, and of course our friends and neighbors in OSU Master Gardener program. But hopefully I'll have more for you in April.
Awesome. Looking forward to plant sales. All right, next we'll continue on with our garden theme, and we have Multnomah Master Gardeners. And Linda, I think you take it away. Did we lose Linda? Oh, Linda, you're muted. You'll need to unmute.
Okay, got it. Can you hear me?
Yeah, but you've got an echo going on. Do you have two devices happening, or do you have your window open twice?
Hang on. Can you put somebody else on first?
Yes. Okay, we'll let Linda get her tech issues figured out, and we'll come back to the Master Gardeners. Mary, why don't you go ahead and talk about Leach?
Okay, the garden is open. It was open in February, and I still don't have a final date for our soft opening of the upper garden, but it's imminent this mid-month. The punch list is being tackled by the contractor, and they did experience a few days delay due to the weather, so that may have pushed our opening date back a little bit. We were planning to roll out the admission schedule April 1st, but we haven't got a green light from Portland Parks yet on that. So more to come on that. I did forward the email from Gay Greger, who is a member of a group of parks advocates regarding the changes that the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability are pursuing for utilizing open space zoned areas, which is pretty much what parks are zoned as, is open space, to utilize them as temporary and possibly permanent shelters for houseless folks. That would mean that even the botanical garden would be subject to being utilized for shelters. And so I can assure you that the Leach Garden Friends Board wasn't real crazy about that idea. And so the letter that was proposed to send out to Mayor Wheeler was included in the email as an attachment. And if you've had a chance to look at that, I'm just going to offer that to the board and board members for your review and thought about how you feel. If you want to follow up on that, either as a board or individuals, I will leave that in your hands. The basic feel is that it's really not a necessary step, because there is undeveloped land throughout the city of Portland that could be utilized in that regard. If we learned anything from Green Thumb, we learned that if you put anything into housing, it's gone as the original use. So the letter pretty much says that besides there's other alternative land available, that access to parks would be pretty much gone for areas. And there's a lot of folks in a lot of acreage in East Portland that is already underserved by parks. So think about where those shelters might land and, think that through. That's all I got.
Thank you, Mary.
Chelsea?
I have uploaded the PDF of the letter that Mary was speaking about, and there's a shareable link there in the chat, as well as a link to the article that she originally sent to the BDNA. Did I see a hand up, Stephanie?
Yes. Chelsea and board members, I was going to bring up this, the matter of this letter when I gave my land use report, but since we've got it before us, and because the time is running out now to collect support and prepare this letter for submission to the city council, I want to move that we support this letter.
I'm going to open that up for, do we have a second, first of all?
I second.
Okay, and so I will open that up to discussion, board members.
Okay, so the letter again is for what exactly?
Essentially, it's a way to protect our parks, trails, and open spaces from being used for camps by people who are currently homeless. And the proposal that the city is making is to try to find places for people to stay, but there is enough open land or enough available land where they can put up their tents without them moving into the parks and camping on the, along the Springwater corridor and
Right.
so on. So, I don't know if you saw the BD Outlook last time, but there's been a lot of damage to our natural areas throughout the metro area by people who don't have a place to stay. So, our parks are very valuable to us, especially at this time of so much national turmoil and the pandemic. I feel that we need to protect them while still finding shelter abodes for those who don't have them. But the letter argues that both are possible.
Right. So the purpose of the letter is to have the city find places for these homeless or houseless people. So we're not anti-homeless, right?
No, far from it. No. The letter is very supportive of the city's goal. At the same time, we would like to protect our parks and trails because we have great need of them in this time. And so do people that we're looking to find homes for. They need parks. They need to be able to walk through parks and walk across lawns and have natural places to be in as well.
Yeah. So yeah, and I've seen some places where people are camping. Of course, I don't live just north of Powell on 33rd. There's like a big wide parking strip by the Cleveland Athletic Field. And there's a whole camp there, and they even have their own porta potty. Not sure how the neighbors like that, but.
So, board members, if you have not had a chance to read it, you can abstain from voting. Neighbors, do we have any additional discussion? You are welcome to join in on this discussion if you have comments or questions. And I believe we have quorum.
I'd be curious to know, is there some sort of Brentwood-Darlington, I don't know if stance is the right word, but goals and support and aim around our houseless population? Is there anything that's
We can't hear you, Scott.
Is it better if I talk down here?
Yes, that was better.
I'd be curious to know, does Brentwood-Darlington have any sort of charter or goals or aims around how the neighborhood wants to support the houseless population? Does something like that exist?
We don't have an official goal or stance or anything like that at this time. We've tried to work on our bylaws multiple times, and we keep coming up against questions that we need answered or support we need from Southeast Uplift and things like that, and can't get the things we need to move our bylaw process along. There is a lot of discussion that we want to have missions and goals and things like that, or at least a statement of values. So it's something we want, but not something we have yet. Pam, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
I just wanted to add that we are a member of the Southeast Uplift Neighborhood Coalition, and that body, SOUL, has a committee, an active committee on houselessness issues. I started sitting in on those meetings. I'm learning more, but because we as a board have not voted on a particular policy stance, we were unable to endorse the letter that SOUL adopted at its last board meeting. So I think it's a work in progress at this point.
Anna, you have your hand up.
Yeah, so we had similar discussions at Woodstock, and we created our own letter. We support the revised letter from Rob Noss that was put in the Southeast Uplift content. So I would really recommend that you have a discussion in your neighborhood to figure out how you want to support it. Because in our neighborhood, people said, like, we don't want really large campsites. We rather have smaller, better controllable groups that can stay and where people can create like personal interactions with the people who are camping there or have their cars out there that they live in. But it would be good to test out and to hear from your neighbors what they think and what they can manage, because the city has a problem of providing the services and programs. And I think it's also a really problematic situation to say, like, we are going to change the zoning code outside of the emergency code changes. So there's if I understand it correctly, there's an emergency code change in place, and the city tries to go beyond that to say, like, when the crisis of COVID is over, we're gonna change the zoning code like permanently for this. And there's a lot of fear about it, how this will go. So that's all.
We also, just on that same thread, that I received an email from the Joint Office of Homeless Services that they are, they've announced a request for programmatic qualifications process, the RFPQ, to solicit new ideas for how they can provide alternative shelter models to the residents of our community. So, they mentioned that Multnomah County is going to invest significant new resources in rent assistance and behavioral health supports. This email came out from Commissioner Jessica Vager-Peterson. So I will try to figure out a way to share this information in the chat here in a minute. But I want to wrap back around because we do have an open vote on this. So board members, you feel comfortable voting on this?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Do I see any other discussion? All right. The motion is on the table to support the letter regarding open spaces, brought up by Stephanie, seconded by Pam and Gail in the chat. Board members, I'm going to call through for roll. Derek?
Aye.
Stephanie?
Aye.
Pam?
Aye.
Shannon?
Quick question, Chelsea. Do you need all of us to vote yes, to have quorum?
You can abstain if you haven't read the letter.
Yeah, can I abstain, please? Thank you.
You can also support it as an individual.
No, we have quorum. We're fine. We have an abstention.
Okay.
Lynn?
Go ahead.
Aye.
Okay. Gail is an I in the chat. I am an I. Motion passes because we have enough even without the abstention. So let's see. Was it Stephanie? Are you going to take care of getting that letter through?
I will contact the person who's in charge of organizing all the support signatures, and I'll tell her that the board approves support of the letter.
Okay, awesome. All right, and I see a question in the chat from Maria, wondering if religious institutions are invited by the city to offer part of their tax-free properties to the houseless. I don't know the answer to that question. I'm wondering if Eli might have an idea on that one.
I believe so. I am by no means an authority figure in that regard, but from what I've read, I think that is the case. If not, there's a bill currently in the works to make that the case, and I can look up that bill number as well.
And what would the bill do? What would the bill say?
I'll let me find what I'm trying to think of, but I think Speaker Kotek put forth a bill that either increases the ability for nonprofits and religious organizations to support housing initiatives, or it's creating it for the first time. So let me look around on OLIS and I'll get back.
Okay, great.
Chelsea?
Yes? Mary, go ahead.
I'm going to forward a email from Gay Greger that has the link to how to submit testimony, and I will forward it to you and to Stephanie.
Excellent, thank you. Any other, let's see. I see in the chat that Anna says the WNA letter requested that support for houseless is better approached through shelter programs, rent support programs, affordable housing, and that campsites should be considered as an initial step. Okay, I know we've gone way off schedule here, but this is an important discussion on some things we didn't get to deal with due to weather. So I'm going to go ahead and move us to the next slide. Unless Linda, are you back in business? All right, I'm going to take us backwards in time and we'll give Linda another shot.
Okay, sorry about that. Apparently a big Zoom meeting is too much for my laptop. So anyway, okay, so although our gardeners are working hard at home to prepare for our return, we're still unable to access our demonstration garden due to the COVID situation. However, for some gardening fun for everyone, Oregon State University's Food Hero program is promoting an Oregon Gardening Challenge, and anyone can enter. It's called Grow This, and it has to do with gardening and growing food. And anyone can go online and do a short survey, and you can receive some free seeds, while quantities last, of course, and you will be able to share your growing experience with the program. They also feature 50 garden videos showing from March through September on different gardening subjects. So to join this fun challenge and get the video calendar, all you have to do is simply type in to your search engine, Food Hero Grow This, and it will come up. I will also put the actual link in the chat. And I think that this will be a really fun program for anyone to take part in. So that's all I have for this month. And I thank you.
Thank you, Linda. That sounds exciting. And I want to do a shout out to the OSU Food Hero program. The nutrition teachers who teach at Woodmere, or one of our local elementaries, are fabulous and have my kids so excited about fruits and vegetables. So just shout out to programs you guys don't know are happening in the neighborhood, but we appreciate it. All right, let's see where we're at here. We'll quickly go through the rest of our announcements. As usual, PPS has food available schedule on their site. And I want to note that the administration is currently planning for the hybrid instruction for the fourth quarter. So if you have a student, make sure you take that successful schools survey, as well as the one they sent out regarding hybrid learning. You can learn more at pps.net. Other food resources, you know it. They're at Woodmere, they're at Lane, Pop-Up Pantry, and in Woodstock. And then I believe Stephanie, was it Stephanie or Pam had Portland Clean Air to bring up. Am I correct?
Yes, it's me.
Oh,
Todd.
and one sec, Eli has a response in the chat. Doesn't look like there are any prohibitions on religious organizations offering up land or resources for available housing. HB 2008 will provide tax exemption for property of religious organizations held or used solely to provide affordable housing to low-income households. It currently sits with the House Housing Committee. That's a mouthful. All right. Stephanie, I'll go ahead and let you take over this with just the note that I've noted noise pollution on here as another neighbor concern that's been brought up to us recently regarding precision cast parts.
Okay, all right. Okay, I'm going to give you a little rundown on Portland Clean Air. It's a local organization headed by a man named Greg Bourget, who is determined to clean up the air in Portland, no matter how many obstacles are presented by local and state corporations and the bought and sold state legislature. He has dispensed with the idea that the legislature will ever exact compliance from these corporations and good behavior as far as polluting our air is concerned. And he goes straight to the corporations with data threatening to make their public image look really, really bad unless they clean up their act. And he also intimates that there will be escalation. I mean, he starts off politely and then quickly escalates to threats. He is a very hard driving person, but remarkable in many ways. I mean, he's been able to obtain a, oh my gosh, it's a giant machine he got from a university in New Mexico that is, it analyzes pollution that's in the air. He collects air around Portland and then takes it to this, I think part of the name of it is spectrometer. And they have a chemist working on it, and she analyzes what it is that people are breathing, wherever that air was collected. And for $100, we could hire someone from their organization to ride around Brentwood-Darlington collecting air, and then they'll analyze it and give us a report. So I'm curious to do that someday, and maybe we'll do that. But what's happening right now that I want to bring to your attention is that Greg Bourget has gotten in touch, and he wants us to write a letter to Precision Cast Parts asking Precision to cease and desist its emissions of all kinds of really awful stuff that it puts into the air, and that a good part of our area breathes in. We're mostly under the plume, and Woodstock is completely under the plume. We're kind of hesitant about challenging Precision Cast Parts with a letter. Many other neighborhood associations are challenging their home area polluters, but and we're being asked to support them, and I'll bring that up in a moment. Our situation is a little bit different from theirs. Part of the power that Greg threatens these companies with is escalation, that this will, escalate into not only really vivid bad publicity, but also legal challenges. And in our case, there already has been escalation. There is a class action lawsuit. It's actually a combination of two that are that have formed to make one. And so the escalation has already occurred, and Precision Cast Parts is already being sued. So a letter from us can't really threaten much because of, of this lawsuit. And so I don't know what we would necessarily gain from that. Also, Precision Cast Parts has invested quite a bit of money in putting in filters and all kinds of, mechanisms to capture their pollution. I don't know how well they've done. So what I would hesitate to challenge them, not only because of the lawsuit, but because we're not sure how badly they're polluting right now. So what I'm proposing, first of all, if the board would like us to send a letter that says, "Dear Precision Cast Parts, we're your neighbor and we know all about you and we have the data to prove it and we want you to knock it off," we could send a letter like that. But what I'm proposing is that instead of sending that letter, we support the letters that other neighborhood associations have written with the idea that someday we'll want them to support us in something. And it's, the air quality is something that we all share. It's more concentrated in certain areas, but I'm sure that we're breathing stuff that comes from the Overlook Union Pacific yards, just the way the Overlook Neighborhood Association is. So I thought we could do, we could support their letters, and then we could also invite Greg to speak to us because he knows so much about what is happening as far as air quality and pollution is concerned. And we could find out from him exactly what's happening with Precision Cast Parts, which is self-reporting emissions, but there surely must be monitoring stations that are also analyzing the air in our area. And I would like to know about those. So what I'm proposing, and then I would like to see how you all feel, is that we sign on to 7 letters, and I'll forward them to you. We don't have to go through these letters tonight. I'll tell you about the Elliott neighborhood letter just in a moment. But we could support these letters with the hope that someday when we call on these other neighborhood associations for help, they'll remember, or we can remind them that we helped them. And so that might be just a little banking for the future. But also it strengthens their cases. So sign letters, and then also invite Greg Bourget to speak, with the understanding that he's a very high-powered, and he will probably give us a lot of really great information, but at the same time, he will press like crazy for us to do things. So we have to not yield. We have to be very strong in his presence. Get information, but not be pushed into anything that we don't want to do. So let me just tell you quickly about the Elliott neighborhood letter. Elliott is writing a letter to a specific fleet of diesel trucks called XPO Logistics that drives, they have a fleet of 8,000, almost 9,000 unfiltered diesel trucks, and that they drive around the area. And this is a big problem in Oregon in general. California has gotten very strict with its diesel vehicles and requires them to be filtered. And so all the old vehicles that weren't filtered have come up here, and they're driving around here, especially in the metro area. And we're breathing that, and diesel particulates are the worst. So Elliott Neighborhood Association, which is very close to 3 freeways, is sending a letter to XPO Logistics and has already 28 organizations endorsements. And I thought that we could very readily sign on to Elliott's. But they're just, again, the letter has a form, you know, hello, we're Elliott. We know who you are. We know what you're doing. We have the data to prove it. We want you to stop. And so that, you know, they're all pretty much the same structure. So I will stop for a moment now and see what you all think. Should we send a letter to Precision Cast Parts or not? Should we sign on to others' letters? Yes or no? Should we invite Greg and try to get information out of him? Yes or no?
Okay, let's go through each of those points one at a time. I'm going to open it up for discussion on the first thing. Should we send a letter to Precision Cast Parts? And I'm going to preface that with, if we say yes, a board member must be willing to see it through to the end, and that board member will not be me.
Well, it will be I. I'll do it. Yeah.
But I would also note that they are a large employer in our neighborhood, and it's another one of those issues where in order to represent all of our neighbors, we have to consider the different viewpoints.
Well, and we should say that we wouldn't send this letter until we know what the air quality situation is. If Precision isn't polluting very much anymore, there's no point.
And they did make a lot of different updates at some point. I feel like this is better suited to a group that focuses on air quality and has the knowledge. So let's go ahead and neighbors, I'd love to see what your opinions are. You can raise your hand either electronically or regularly. Scott?
I'd be curious to hear more from Greg.
All right. Any other comments, questions?
I too would like to know more from Greg as well before doing anything like a letter.
All right. I see in the chat, Gail says that Precision Cast Parts looks like they're trying to comply with DEQ regulations. Gus, your hand's up.
Yeah, that was just me seconding, wanting to hear more for that from Mr. Greg.
All right. So I think what I see is we don't feel comfortable writing a letter ourselves. We would like to maybe host Mr. Bourget possibly at a land use meeting or on all committees or a special event. And Shannon says she wonders if Greg has been to a meeting before. I feel like he has. I think that he's correct in that. So yeah, maybe we could host a meeting just specifically on this topic that neighbors could come in and give their opinion. I'd be willing to put that together, or at least do the Zoom for it. All right. And as for the letters, Stephanie, I think those need to go out to the board for review before we can talk about signing on to them.
Okay, fine. I'll be happy to send them out.
Okay. And we can bring those to the next meeting for a vote. Does that work?
That works just fine. Thank you very much. That's great. Okay.
Quick.
All right, good. Thank you, everybody.
Awesome.
Oh, and then as for noise pollution, we've had a resident pop up who's wondering if there's any group that's battling with Precision Cast Parts over the noise it makes as it conducts its operations. And I don't know. Does anybody know whether there's a group that's battling PCC over its noise? I'd never heard of that before, but I don't live down there, so.
All right. I don't think anybody does. Maybe we could refer this neighbor also to Portland Clean Air and South Portland Air Quality if they're still working on stuff. They might be in the know of who to report for noise pollution. All right.
Can I quickly ask what kind of noise pollution that is?
I would assume it's machinery and trucks.
Because I hear a lot, you know, I sometimes wake up like at 3 or 4 at night and there is some kind of noise and I can't locate where it's coming from, but it's somewhere south from me. So that's definitely down there where PCC is.
And I'll connect you with this neighbor.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, and that way you can see if you're hearing the same noise. Also, comment from Pam. Keller Roebuck website has details of the class action lawsuit that was underway since 2016. It was filed by BDNA residents, and there's BDNA discussions and minutes on that going way back. So, all right, we need to move along. We are running way behind. I hope everybody's all right if I move on to the next topic. We will plan an event with Greg, possibly hosted in conjunction with Woodstock, and get back to neighbors on when that happens. Okay. Holdover from last month, since we weren't able to talk about it in committees, this will be quick. We are going to host a litter cleanup. And I am willing to be a team lead because I have been one before, and this is a great opportunity to do socially distanced cleanup. So I'm hoping, neighbors, that you can help us narrow it down to dates, a date and a specific place or places, and then we can register our event. If it is approved, they will provide gloves, bags, trash removal, sharps containers, picker sticky things, and I don't remember what else, but they take care of all of it. Is this neighborhood cleanup coordinated with the neighborhood cleanup through the Connected Neighbor page? Not at the moment, but if they want to be part of Solve, we can work through that. Maria, do they have a date plan? Did they totally flesh that out?
Yeah, I just saw it, I think earlier today for, I want to say April 14th, somewhere mid-Aprilish. But I think it's just neighbors coordinating, the same issue that we came up with last time, that it's totally necessary and needed. And I think they're already going for it, but I wasn't sure if that was in coordination with the Solve event that we were talking about or not.
I didn't.
Maybe we should get in touch because, more hands, the better.
All right, so what we'll do is we'll see if maybe we could coordinate and maybe get it through Solve for them. It looks like April 17th. Shannon, do you know if they're doing it through Solve to get free supplies and removal?
Let me check really quick. Sorry, I was just looking at it. Excuse the baby.
If not, we could coordinate that portion. All right.
It looks like they're doing it at Flavel Park.
They're going to do it at Flavel?
Yeah, but I don't see anything in regards to like it being organized through Solve. It might just be straight through the organizers on that page.
Okay, since they're doing an April 1, let's table this till our committee's meeting and see if we can either partner with them to expand it or support it, or do one coming up after it. Does that work for everybody? I don't see any no's. I see thumbs up. Awesome. Thanks for that. Last thing before we go on break, I want to bring up that you may not know this, but part of Brentwood-Darlington is part of the Woodstock Community Business Association. We thought they'd expanded to 81st, but there's some question on that. So we're double checking on that, but they're covered at least till 6 to 62nd. You can sign up for their newsletter in the chat, but we are hosting in March with our Zoom account, and the special guest is Sam Adams, the City of Portland Director of Strategic Innovations. So definitely get on the newsletter there, and if you would like that invite information, you can either email us at brentwood.darlington@gmail.com or reach out to Woodstock there. Anna, did I miss anything on that? Are you still part of WCBA?
I only occasionally attend, so I don't know.
Okay.
I don't have anything to add to this.
Excellent.
Will you send out a Zoom link, Chelsea?
I will. And it also went out in our most recent newsletter, it was in that as well. So if you received our BDNA newsletter that went out, not at the time I thought I scheduled it for, so earlier this week, it's been an interesting tech week. It is actually, the link is directly there in that email. And if you can't find it, I can help. All right. Somehow we are at break a few minutes early. So let's take a 5-minute break. And then we will be back, and we have lots of fun, interesting topics. Before I let you go, in case we have neighbors drop out before the board business comes up, I want to remind all of our neighbors that BDNA elections come in May. So if you would like to be part of the decision making here on the board, you can join us then, but you do not have to be on the board to participate in committees or at meetings or volunteer for events. But we're supposed to start making our elections announcements this month. So that is your official first elections announcement of 2021. And now let's take a 5-minute break. We'll be back at 7:03. So go fill your waters, and we will be back in 5 minutes.
I'm going to say goodbye and good night.
All
Good
right.
seeing you all.
Good night. Okay, before we move on to the treasurer's report, Luke had to go, but he said that the plant sale dates are April 24th, May 8th, and May 22nd. And I'll put that in the chat and turn it over to Lynn to talk about our treasurer's report.
Okay, we really don't have a lot, just one stamp for the newsletter. That was the only charge this month. So we basically started off with $7,577 and ended up with the combined balance of the checking and the savings is going to be $8,500.
Awesome. Stephanie
has a question. Yes,
Okay,
Stephanie?
for me to speak. Oh, since we're on the subject of the budget, I wanted to propose that we upgrade our Zoom to Zoom Business Pro, because you can get transcript of the audio portion of the meeting. And this will be so much easier for our secretary and for us in general. Chelsea said that that Business Pro has several features that could be useful to us. So it doesn't cost that much more a year. I think it's what, $100 more a year or something like that from what we're paying now.
I think it's closer to just over $50 a year from what I see online.
Okay.
Some of the capabilities it'll give, just kind of as an idea, is you get the transcription features. You can host up to 300 participants. You can customize your meeting rooms a little bit more using, like, we could have a special URL, things like that. So there's a few other things, and it's definitely worth the cost for as much as we're doing it. And I don't think it's significant enough to require a vote.
Okay. So then is that something that you can arrange for Chelsea?
Yeah, between Lynn and I think we can do that.
Yeah, I don't remember
Super,
who.
that's wonderful. Okay.
I think the access is through our normal BDNA account, so I'll look into upgrading it. And but board, do we have any opposition to that? Derek, you're muted.
I just got back. What did I miss? Sorry.
We want to upgrade to the next level of the Zoom account to get transcriptioning, larger meeting size, and more customization.
Oh, great. Yeah, let's do that.
Thumbs up, all board members?
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, Lynn, if I can't figure out how to upgrade it, I'll let you know.
Yeah, okay, yeah, let me know.
Okay, awesome. And since we have money in the account, I wanted to ask if we want to do another round of gift cards to Grocery Outlet. Those have been really popular. I was distributing them through Pop-Up Pantry with BDNA brochures, which we'll bring up later, and things like that. so that neighbors that show up and are obviously in distress. And need
Yeah, if that's a motion, I second it.
Do we have do you want to say an amount?
Yeah, let's do an amount. How about let's Derek, was that you did what, 400 last time?
I thought 8, but well, don't let me go on a rabbit run here.
Well, how
Was
about
it
this?
like was there maybe eight $50 gift cards?
So why don't we do this? Since our current balance is $8,524, why don't we do 10 $50 gift cards to Grocery Outlet to be distributed over the next few months, and then we can re-up them. And because I get a lot of emails where somebody will have a neighbor who needs help, or we'll have a neighbor come to pantry and it's obvious they need something. So excellent. Okay, so a motion. I will make a motion to purchase 10 $50 gift cards from Grocery Outlet in the amount of $500. Do we have a second?
I second it.
Seconded by Stephanie. Any further discussion? All right, vote. I'll go down the roll. Shannon says aye. Stephanie?
Aye.
Derek?
Aye.
Lynn?
Aye.
Pam?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, and Gail is aye in the chat. Motion passes unanimous. Derek, are you willing to purchase those again?
Sure, I can do that.
Excellent, thank you. I'll let you coordinate with Lynn.
So again, I'm getting 10 $50 gift cards, or
Correct.
wait a minute.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep. If you don't remember, you text me when you get there.
gotcha. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everybody. The gift cards have been really helping out neighbors. So,
Chelsea, I'm curious, are you able to, when you give these out, do you document that, or how do you do that?
I don't document them because I just give them to neighbors who need, but I do include a BDNA brochure with them. And I write on all of them that it's for a Brentwood-Darlington neighbor from BDNA.
Gotcha.
If I'm really together, they get one of Gail's homemade cards with a little supportive message, depending on the situation. So, for example, one card went to a family who was experiencing unemployment and cancer. And so a little message of, we're there for you, hope this helps. And then that gift card was distributed through a contact at the school to that family in need. So they got a BDNA card, but from a trusted network. And so it kind of loops around supporting the neighborhood there.
Right.
Gail, whenever you get me another pack, I think I'm going to be about due for it. No hurry though on the cards. Okay, let's keep going. Pam, you said you just have a little bit for Southeast Uplift? You're muted.
Better? We had our monthly meeting on Monday, and first off, there was a quick vote approving Brentwood-Darlington's fiscal sponsorship that's through Southeast Uplift. So I thank the board for approving that. And we spent the bulk of our meeting on an hour-long DEIA training, and that is going to be the first of 3 trainings offered to sole board members.
What kind of training?
Diversity and inclusion training.
Oh, okay.
Which was very good, by the way. And then I also sat in on one hosted by another coalition a couple weeks ago, which was also very good. So I'm getting lots of training. And then the follow-up item from the February board meeting was the vote to whether or not to endorse Representative Nose's letter to the Joint Office on Houselessness. Basically, very broad request to ban sweeps and to create sanctioned camps. And so we all went back or tried to go back to our respective neighborhood associations in the prior month. It was up on our February agenda, which was very crowded, and then it was moved to the all committees meeting, which was canceled due to weather and internet outages. And so, as you might recall, we were not able to vote, and I abstained on Monday, and so did a lot of other neighborhood associations. I think there were about half that ultimately endorsed the letter as written. And many, like Woodstock, as Anna has mentioned, made some modifications. So this is not over. I mean, if we wanted as a neighborhood association to write our own letter or to endorse some version of Representative Nose's policy letter on houselessness, we would still be able to do that. So that's sort of where that stands. And then, as I mentioned at our last board meeting, Southeast Uplift is in transition. The executive director will be leaving shortly, and Leah Fisher will be the interim director until we get further direction, I think, on the duration of Southeast Uplift's contract with the Office of Civic Life, which itself is in transition. I sent 2 board members earlier this afternoon an OPB article talking about many complaints that have surfaced from Civic Life employees over the last few years. And then also there is an invitation from Commissioner Hardesty, the new commissioner in charge of the Office of Civic Life, inviting neighborhood association board members and coalition board members to an open house to have an open dialogue on next Tuesday evening. And I have registered for that. But anyone else who would like to join me in that open house, the deadline for registering is tomorrow. So that's right around the corner. I think that's about it. I think, Chelsea, you had some other comments about communication grants.
Yeah, and I thought I had a slide for that that thing you were just talking about, the open house.
Yes.
But just in case I can't find it, Maria will put the links in the chat to those things, the article and the open house.
Wonderful.
And I'm sure I'll find it at some point. All right, yes, so I'm gonna have to jump through slides because I have them a little misordered today. Oh, there it is. I found the slide. See, I told you I'd find it. So yeah, those links will be in the chat, but definitely worth reading the article. And board members, anybody who can, definitely register for that. I'm gonna see if I can work it into my calendar. Okay, I want to get approval on a communications grant that I'd like to submit to Southeast Uplift. I only have the capacity to do 1 grant right now, so I chose this one because I think it'll work the best for our needs. I'm requesting $875 for translation and printing of our brochure and virtual meeting informational inserts in Spanish and Vietnamese. Timeline, we already have the brochure redesign complete, which I have it, or we will by the time this submits. Brochure translation, I have scheduled to be completed by mid-April. The printing to be complete by early May, and then distribution after that through Derek's normal ways, as well as at events. So hoping maybe we could go to some of the plant sales and things like that. So it's a very loose timeline, or a very, not loose, forgiving timeline. So we could easily be completed sooner than that. For the budget, I rounded a little bit using numbers that Derek recently got us from Oregon Business Forms, printing 1,000 of each language for a total of $575, 250 of the 3rd sheet sized inserts and we'll make those like double-sided maybe with multiple languages, and paying neighbors 1 for Spanish and 1 for Vietnamese. I already have a neighbor on board to do Spanish, and I'm hoping Stephanie might be able to connect me with a neighbor, possibly for Vietnamese. If not, I've got a few other leads. But
I'll try.
does anyone see any problems with this. This is the Communication Funds grant proposals is a very simple online form. So I'm trying to make it easy and readable. Any questions, comments?
I'm curious, any magnets? Are we gonna get some more of those or?
This is just for in Spanish and Vietnamese.
Okay, but I was thinking the magnets, like, can we get some more of those or?
We can only request up to $1,000 and the magnets would
Okay,
be over that.
gotcha.
So I was
Okay,
thinking maybe in our next magnet order, we could order a small portion in the other
okay.
languages as well. But since we aren't getting as many communications funds as normal, I wanted to make sure that we at least tried to get some funding for this translation project we've been working
This
on.
is my last batch of magnets.
I
so,
have a few here, so I can at least hook you up with magnets.
Okay.
Moving on, the two things I'd like the most input on, and I can send this out for review if anybody really wants to tweak it. But these are our two things, and based on the workshop I took with Southeast Uplift, I tried to kind of hit the points they need. And that's, I think this project fits well with their trying to reach people that are more of our diverse population, but we currently have barriers to communicating with. So I'm going to read through this really quickly. So the question that you've got to answer is, what are the barriers of outreach that you've experienced that this grant will help alleviate? And I wrote, Brentwood-Darlington is a diverse neighborhood boasting upwards of 30 spoken languages. Currently, the BDNA brochure is only available in English, preventing many neighbors from accessing the information printed in it. Additional funding from a communications grant would allow us to translate our newly redesigned brochure into both Spanish and Vietnamese, the top two non-English languages currently spoken in BD. And that's as of the new information that Stephanie found on demographics. The next question was, how will these funds be used to connect a more diverse population? And I put, having English-only printed materials is not inclusive or representative of our diverse neighborhood. By translating our brochure into additional languages, we can engage with neighbors who would otherwise be omitted. The BDNA brochure is our first contact with many neighbors, and expanding the languages as available would allow more neighbors to learn about and engage with the neighborhood association system, as well as Southeast Uplift and the Office of Community and Civic Life. Currently, the BDNA volunteer force is majority white and English speaking, something that we hope to change through projects like this. And I'd like to open it up for input. And I see in the chat, Maria says between her and Anna, German must be the third most spoken. It's actually Russian, but I think in our neighborhood, you might be tipping the majority. Open up for questions or comments, or if it's great, we can thumbs up and I can get this thing for a vote.
Well, how do we get people to read these things?
So we'll have our regular brochure in Spanish and English. And Derek, how would you distribute those?
The inserts that.
Well, it's going to be the full brochure available.
Right.
So everything that we normally have in our English one. So this is our English one that we're going to talk about tonight. I made the changes that were requested. So for example, this, what is a neighborhood association, would be in Spanish on one. And then there would be another version that would have it in Vietnamese. And then and then the inserts will be in all three languages. So those.
Derek distributes these to people who have bought a house, right?
That's correct. So I get a mailing list from the title company I do a lot of business with. They're happy to provide that. I get labels. And so with the stamps that I purchased and the labels, I basically mail it out. And I get this typically every month of people that have bought property and here in the neighborhood.
Do you see Hispanic and Vietnamese and Russian names, Ukrainian names?
I do. And then I see a little bit of everybody out there. And so
Where I
you
think
know.
will be the most effective is when we have them available to hand out at events. I'm hoping to maybe BDNA can be a presence at some of these outdoor events happening starting locally, like with the garden events and things like this. This also, the information we're putting in these is not as short-lived as some of the information we've had before. So these, the current brochure redesign, the only dated information is the projects that we have there, the Arrow Heights Park, the sidewalk infill, and the Lower Southeast Rising. And all those projects are happening over the next few years, this year and next at least. So they will last us a while to be able to offer them. And Gail says that Parks and Rec is having summer events, so we'll also have opportunities there. And I would trust Derek to make decisions whether or not to send out an English, a Spanish, or a Vietnamese one. But the inserts will be all 3 languages. So even if we're only mailing English brochures, there will be multi-language inserts in them, if that makes sense. So the multi-language ones will be mostly to hand out to people who want them in a different language, and the inserts will be for everything. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, any other questions, comments? Okay. We do need to get this grant proposal in by the 7th. I'd like to submit it tomorrow. And so I would like to make a motion to approve this grant for submission if there's no further discussion. I see seconded by Gail in the chat. She beat you to it. All right, motion is on the table to approve this grant for submission to Southeast Uplift, seconded by Gail. And I will run through the list. Shannon says aye. Gail says aye. Stephanie?
Aye.
Derek?
Aye.
Pam?
Aye.
Lynn?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Passes with unanimous. I will submit this tomorrow. Lynn, do you have a copy of the 501c3 fiscal sponsorship letter from Southeast Uplift that we have to have?
I will have to look because they just approved the new fiscal sponsorship and I haven't heard anything about that. But if it's just a tax form, I'll have to look in the drive for it.
I think it's just the tax form. I'll do a search for it, and if I don't find it, then I'll ask you for it. Does that work?
Sure.
Okay. If it's in the drive, I might be able to find it.
Yeah.
Board members, the last thing is I want to get final approval of our new brochures before we get the English version printing, because we are totally out. These are basically the same as you saw last month, except for the changes requested. I added the Lower Southeast Rising, and based on the wording Pam said, and then also taking from the information that Stephanie sent out and was on PBOT's website. So it says, if you can't read the tiny font, Lower Southeast Rising, Transportation Growth Management Grant Planning Effort covering Woodstock, Mount Scott-Arleta, Brentwood-Darlington, the southern portion of Foster Powell, and the western portion of Lentz. And then it has the website there. Stephanie, is there any problems with that wording?
No.
Okay.
Because I mean, I just personally, I hate that title that they assigned it, Lower Southeast Rising. But that doesn't have anything to do with what you need from me. So no, it looks fine.
We don't get choices in a lot of the things they name things. We just got to go with it. Okay. If there are no further corrections to the brochure, I would love to get these out to Oregon Business Forms, which means we need to approve a printing cost. And Derek, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe printing was just over $288 for 1,000 in the last email I saw.
Okay. I don't have the email in front of me, but yeah, whatever's in my email I sent you, yeah, that's it.
Okay. So I'm going to ask to approve $300 because it's $280 and some change, and we'll come in under budget. So can we, I'm going to make a motion to print 1,000 brochures for cost not to exceed $300 with Oregon business forms. Do we have a second?
Second.
Pam seconds. Any discussion?
Actually, I have something.
Go ahead, Lynn.
So the board in February approved 1,000 brochures for $288 to be printed.
We already did.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the motion's already passed. So we thank
How
you.
much money was it?
288 is what I have.
Okay.
I remembered I was working on the grant today. Okay, so Derek, I will send you these final brochures to send to Oregon
Okay.
forms, and we'll get our English ones going and hope we get funding for Spanish and Vietnamese.
Oh,
Thank
so
you.
another one quick question. So is this part of the grant you're doing then? Is that what will cover this?
No, the English will come out of our regular communication fund.
Okay.
They made it really clear in the grant workshop that communication fund grants are for basically expanding capacity and outreach. So
Okay.
We can already do English. It's not a big deal. So I want to.
Yeah, the only thing is, I believe this year for Southeast Uplift, for us to use our communications fund, we have to incur the debt like after April 6th.
Okay.
So, I don't know if we can order the brochures and just have the invoice come in April. Does that make sense?
Yeah. With what we have in the account and the difference in funding, are we super worried about just incurring this cost?
I guess not really. I mean, we're only getting $500 from Southeast Uplift, so yeah.
Because I think I'd rather have brochures on hand than wait to have it billed. And almost 300 is about what the difference is between if we get the grant and what they already gave us. It'd be roughly that anyway.
Yeah, that's fine. I wasn't really wanting to delay the brochures. It was just more about when we got the billing, but we can just go ahead, I'll get the invoice. Yeah.
So we'll plan to order more magnets after that date because that's about when we'll need them. And they're at least $250.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have other language magnets by then.
There you go.
Okay, let's see. Go back to what we else said. Stephanie, I think you're next. I think we're all tired of listening to me.
Okay, never, Chelsea. Okay, so land use. I'll present a few items quickly. One is an update on Errol Heights Park. And that is contained, the information was transmitted to Pam by George Lazavoy, who's the project manager. Says the project is moving along, but we encountered some issues. And the issues are that after the park planners laid out their design, they let the geologists have a whack at it. And the geologist said, no, the switchback staircase that you've designed won't work at all. It needs to be something completely different. And the retaining walls that you've got here and there, they have to be completely different too. And so the geologists' recommendations put the park improvement almost $1 million over budget. So they have to have the retaining walls. This switchback staircase is going to be put on hold. Other parts of the park were readjusted in certain ways to bring the cost down so that the retaining walls can be afforded. And so they'll go through everything again at final design and see whether it's possible at that time to add back the switchback staircase. But I'm kind of gathering from his email that that's not going to be possible. So I see Gail, scrap the skate park. And that's not a bad idea. Maybe now is another opportunity to weigh in on the The skateboard park. I'll make a note of that, Gail. Thank you.
George, with anything about the skate park, he might throw something at us at this
Yeah,
point.
probably. Maybe we can get somebody else.
Yeah, no, that train has already left the station, 6 months ago.
He backed up over us.
All right, forget it. Okay. All right. So anyway, the park is being rescued from a little setback, but it's good to consult the geologist because we don't want people, breaking their legs on the switchback staircase that's failing and so on. So now the construction on the park will probably begin in July and will finish about 14 months later in the fall of 2022. So keep your fingers crossed for the park. It needs a lot of luck at this time. And then Pam told me today that the art team for the park has come back to life, right? Pam, I can't remember what you told me now. They're reconstituting themselves and they're going to be working on art, like sculptures for the park, right?
Yes, as many of you know, I was both serving on the Citizens Advisory Committee for the development of Errol Heights Park. And then when that was completed, George put my name forward to the Original Arts Committee as to be one of the two citizen members of the committee to select art for the park. And then we heard nothing for like a whole year. And I just received an email about a week ago from the Regional Arts Council saying the person at RAC who'd been coordinating the project had retired and he's the new coordinator, and was I still interested in serving? And of course I said yes. So they should be starting with outreach for artists later this month. So I'll be busy reviewing artist submissions over the next few months, along with one other citizen and several artists that were appointed to the committee by the Regional Arts Council.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you very much, Pam. All right.
Will you bring us those when you get them, Pam, so we can see them?
Unless I'm sworn to secrecy, I will. I'm trying to learn how the rack works, and it's not a very transparent process.
All right. Well, when they give you something that you can show us, we're excited.
I would love to do that. I made the recommendation last year that they do specific outreach to find artists who might possibly live or work in the community, but I think that fell on deaf ears.
They were shocked.
They said, well, you don't have any artists in Brentwood-Darlington. If you did, we would know about them. I mean,
Yes, it was an unsatisfactory response, no question.
Yeah.
They're obviously not paying attention to the beautiful art we have on our little free libraries, fences, houses, and things like that.
Oh my goodness, yes, they are in a world of themselves.
All right, Stephanie, do you have more?
I do. All right, so I want to talk about the speeding problem on Southeast Flavel Drive, which residents along that road have been worried about and complaining about for years, and with justification. We have some very good news. We have learned that PBOT has assigned a traffic engineer to begin monitoring the traffic speeds and volumes, and they asked us to say where they should start measuring, and so we told them this is a big deal. It means they're listening to us, and they've placed Flavel Drive on a list of streets eligible to receive traffic calming devices. And again, this is a big deal. It's very hard to get on that list. And now that street is on it. So it looks as though we will get some relief eventually. It'll take a while, but the gas tax that the citizenry passed last year is now providing funds that can be used apart from street repaving projects to put in stop signs and speed bumps and pedestrian crossings and all that. You don't have to wait to repave, 5 blocks of some street before you can get those things. So we're on that list, and Scott Cohen, one of the planners, will let us know in a couple of months where on the list we are, how far down. But just to be on the list is huge. And just to have an engineer out evaluating the traffic is really wonderful also. Because we want to get that street back down to being a little neighborhood side street that's 20 miles an hour. We want the traffic, the trucks that have been racing through on there to go back to Johnson Creek Boulevard where they belong and stay off our little neighborhood street. So that's our goal. So there's been a big move forward on that. And I'm really proud of all these people who have been gathering data and reaching out to the city and never giving up. It's been super.
Stephanie, you have a question in the chat from Kim asking if there's any way to add Duke Street to that.
Not at this time. I understand that there's a big problem on Duke. When we met to talk about the planning associated with the Transportation Growth Management Plan, Zeph Wagner, another planner there, said that it will provide some good opportunities for neighborhood advocacy for dealing with problems on various streets there, and that will be a good time to, I'm gathering from what he said, that will be a good time to bring up Duke Street and 72nd and the 72nd and Duke intersection, right? Isn't that the one that causes a lot of problems, Chelsea?
Yeah, that's our most complained about intersection and the one that we've had the most anecdotal accidents reported.
Right, okay. So we're aware of Duke Street. We don't want to press our luck just at the moment, Kim. We fought for years to get Flavel Street to where it is now, or Flavel Drive, and we'll turn our attention. We're going to really push hard in the TGM grant process, and you're going to be on that committee, so you're going to be in great position to point out that if we're going to be safe on our streets to walk and bicycle and have 20-minute neighborhoods, we've got to deal with the speeding on streets like Duke and 72nd. So I'm not bringing up Duke just at this moment. We're trying to keep a good relationship with the planners, and then we will have this other opportunity during the planning process. So I'm sorry if that disappoints you, but it's actually the best strategy.
I would note though, Stephanie, that does not prohibit neighbors from reporting unsafe traffic places that you can do on Portland's website, and I will look for the link on that. So keeping it kind of on PBOT's radar, by the time we do bring it up, it will, they'll at least have complaints logged from neighbors.
And we're also collecting problems on a spreadsheet. I can circulate that Google Doc address again, and I think I already put Duke on there, but I'll check, and I'll be sure to add 72nd. But we'll get to it. It takes a long time. It's a big city with a lot of streets with a lot of problems, and so we're just grateful at the moment that, one, that we got the grant, and two, that they're paying attention to the Flavel Drive, and we'll get them to do more. Okay, let's see, to move on to trees. Trees for Life Oregon has submitted a grant proposal to Parks and Rec that includes a portion for us. We would like to get funding to buy Soak It buckets for Soak It Week, which these are buckets that have holes drilled near the bottom of them, and you put them near your tree and you fill them up however many times are required for the size of the tree, and the instructions are on the side of the bucket. And then we're also asking for funding to make flyers in different languages, and those can go into the bucket in the interior. So we're very excited about this. I have this good feeling about it, that we will get this money, and so then we'll have some fun events where we're handing out buckets to people and educating them about the changing climate here and the necessity for watering our trees in the summer, which we didn't used to have to do. And let's see. So that's a Socket week. Then at the last land use committee meeting, we had a presentation from Nick Asovi, who's the executive director of the Rose Community Development Corporation. And we wanted him to talk to us about what it takes to acquire land and develop a piece of property so that it's something wonderful. And we had in mind a couple of ideas. One was sort of a Mercado equivalent, but more likely for us would be perhaps a 3-story building where the bottom is retail with maybe room for a business incubator. And then upstairs would be affordable housing units. And maybe we'd have a food cart somewhere in the parking lot. So Nick helped us understand how incredibly difficult all this is and how much you have to know, and how the city is investing its money elsewhere in redevelopment areas, and we're not a redevelopment area. So there's a huge amount to learn, organizations to become affiliated with, investment trends to follow. So, we had our eye on this strip mall at the corner of 52nd and Flavel. We may not be able to raise our knowledge and connections level to what's needed in order to do anything with that property. But, we're going to give it a try. We're going to, I'm planning at the land use meeting to make up a plan for how we acquire knowledge and a momentum forward. So that we can become maybe like Cully, which ended up having a lot of ability to a lot of agency in making the certain kinds of land use changes that were beneficial to the Cully neighborhood. So we'll keep going on that, but I was just staggered by how much there is to know, and but a lot of wonderful things going on. For example, we learned that Mercy Corps Northwest has a whole branch that is dedicated to helping low-income people invest in property. And what they do is they get enough money to acquire a piece of property. They develop it so it has stores and rental units. And then they make it possible for people who are poor to pay in $20 a month, $50 a month, over the months, over the years, to where they acquire they have an ownership effectively in one slice or one part of that whole enterprise, and they get some revenues from the businesses there. And it's a way for people who are poor to build some wealth that can be bequeathed to descendants or sold. And so I found those kinds of ideas tremendously exciting, just beautiful. So we have a lot to learn there that's going to make us really happy to know that human beings are out there thinking up wonderful things. And finally, I'll just make a note that, we've had a couple of residents contact us about nuisance houses. And so I'm putting together a resource sheet. I'm going to share this with you, Chelsea. It's just in very draft form that I thought we could just hand to people, because otherwise it's a scramble to try to think what to do. And so it's got various strategies and phone numbers and website addresses and so on. And I'll show it to you, and that might make things easier in the future when people reach out to us. We can say,
Yes. Stephanie, I'd appreciate that if I could get a copy of that. And just to let you know, I'm doing all kinds of mailing and marketing of my services as a realtor throughout the 97206 zip code, which is basically where we live all the way up to Mount Tabor, with 40th on one side, 82nd on the other. Yeah. But I'm talking to a lot of people. I can't discuss who. This confidential, and I'm a fiduciary, but they're in places where pre-foreclosure or wherever they are, and I'm working with them to help them do what they need to do and, so, but,
So
yeah.
Stephanie, if you send that to me, I'll make it into an info sheet that we can share both as a PDF, a graphic, and print.
Okay,
Right.
but it's not finished yet.
Mhm.
No, when you have the information finished.
Right, okay, fine. Yeah, I will.
So
Okay,
it's a
very good. I'll make
resource
sure you
for,
get it, Jake.
it's a resource for distressed neighbors, right? And
It is.
homeowners.
It
Right.
is,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah,
How
I
to
could,
deal with
yeah,
problem property, yeah.
right.
Okay, well, so that's all I have for tonight.
You don't want to bring this up at all? That they've finally posted that the Lower Southeast Rising on the website, and it went out in our newsletter?
Okay.
Oh.
Okay, well, we've been reporting that it's
It was just really exciting to see it actually have its own website and all of that up now, and to put out the announcements.
yeah, okay, well, I stopped thinking about it because I sent out so many announcements to
Can we just do a yay for Stephanie though?
Yes,
Because, oh
it's
my gosh,
wonderful. We fought hard to get this
invested in
grant
it
and
so
now
much.
it's a reality. And yes, there is a website and if any of you are interested in serving on their Citizens Advisory Committee or Project Advisory Committee, I should say, go to this website and apply. They're looking for people and they don't have enough yet.
I will share in my Portland State University Masters of Urban and Regional Planning program for our Planning Methods 2 course, we looked at the Lower Southeast Rising and spent some time in our class looking at it. So it's neat to see it come up in my coursework also at Portland State.
Oh, nice. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
You can say you have a brush with celebrity because Stephanie is the mastermind behind this. Her and Marty.
No, really. But anyway, no, you're right, Chelsea. I'm sorry. I became paralyzed when I saw that. What should I say?
I just want to make sure you get credit.
Oh, thank you. No, we all got credit. We all beat the bushes for those letters and trying to support the application for that grant. And it is really marvelous that it's actually happening now. Yeah.
And you're modest too. And then I want to bring up, I don't know if you have seen this, Stephanie. I saw this email just before the meeting, so I made it.
I hadn't seen it.
I threw together a quick slide because I want to make sure that this gets mentioned in March. The applications are open for PBOT's Bureau and Budget Advisory Committee. I won't read through all the big print there, but Maria has put the link and the information in the chat there. If you're interested in it, you can apply or contact Dimitri for more information.
Thank you very much, Chelsea.
Yep. All right. Anything else? We've approved brochures. We've approved a grant. We have answered all the tough questions that have been brought up. We are dwindling down in people. Scott, do you have a question, comment, discussion point?
Yeah, I have a comment related to the Brentstock Incubators project that I'm a part of, and is it just something I wanted to bring up to chat about. We're trying to work with the Woodstock Neighborhood Association right now to do sort of like a sculptural woven piece and do some right-of-way improvement at the Woodstock Community Center. And I think it would just be the bee's knees if we could do something with the Brentwood-Darlington Community Center as well to try and like bridge those two spaces. And so I just want to bring that up as something to chat about. The Woodstock Neighborhood Association is looking into like the liability and insurance and different things around that. And so like I figure let them do some of the heavy lifting on it and find out if it's even possible. And then if it is, and I find that out, then I will come back again and I'll say, hey, remember that thing that I mentioned? And we'll bring it up again later.
No, it sounds absolutely charming, Scott. I love the idea. The idea, Chelsea, is to have maybe half of the sculpture at the Woodstock Community Center and the other half at the Brentwood-Darlington Community Center, and then the two connected maybe by signs or a path or whatever, that so you can walk from one community center to the other. And I just love the idea. And think we just don't even know who's in
Okay,
charge
so
of?
before you go there, I have information on that. On who's in charge of the community center. I spoke with, I just blanked on his name, the executive director, whose name I cannot remember at the moment, of Impact Northwest. Thank you. When we set up the warming shelter, and there are some things regarding who owns the land and leasing and all of that that they want to work on and have our assistance with, which also includes fixing up the building and the property around it and making improvements that might include art and other things like that. So I'm going to connect Andy with you, Stephanie, and the land use committee, because I think it's going to tie in there because it's something regarding county versus PPS and land leasing and stuff that is definitely not my wheelhouse. So I will, Scott, I will loop you in on that as well as kind of, maybe we could include these improvements in this project and we'll go from there.
Chelsea, I want to ask about the community center.
Yep.
And I just have, all the time that I've been a part of the neighborhood association, I've just never questioned the way things are set up. This sort of, it's almost like a fortress where we make reservations and we get to be there for a little while, but it's really alien territory that belongs to somebody else. And it doesn't have the feeling of, say, Mount Scott or Woodstock, where you could come and go and there are classes and children doing ballet and that sort of thing. And it's just, it's almost feels forbidding to enter it, and there's a person at the desk wanting to know who you are and why you're there. And so why is ours so different?
Our community center is not run by Parks and Rec. It's run by Impact Northwest, and all of the other ones run their programming through those buildings. Gail says that Impact Northwest operates the building, and so almost all the programming is their programming. Basically, they're using the building, and then it's available to the community in certain ways. Pam, you have your hand up?
Well, I'm glad that Scott jogged my memory. He mentioned insurance, and that surfaced also in passing at the Seoul meeting. Anna, who sits on the finance committee at Seoul, has been digging into whether Seoul has maintained the proper type of insurance that covers neighborhood associations for all their activities. And apparently it may not be in the proper form right now. And so Leah, the interim director, said that she is working on ascertaining that we have the insurance protection that we need, particularly after COVID and we start doing more events in the community. We absolutely have to have that. And Leah was really concerned because having that appropriate form of insurance is also a requirement of the civic life contract with Seoul. So they're technically, I think, in non-compliance. So I want you to know that. If you talk to Leah, she can probably fill you in greater detail. I don't normally attend the finance committee meetings, so I was really happy that Anna does and pass that information along. And it's also coming up in the bylaws committee at Seoul, which I do sit on, and we are reviewing the indemnification and liability provisions as part of the bylaws review.
Okay, that's good information to know, and let's definitely keep an eye on that. I'm not sure what Southeast Uplift and insurance never seems to mesh. Like first
No,
week
it doesn't.
wheelchair and
Always a
now we
problem.
don't have any. Stephanie, your hand's up, and we're down to our last 5 minutes.
No, I know, I saw. But to go back to the community center, I mean, is there any way of?
Well, we're going to talk to Andy, the executive director at Impact Northwest, and we can bring up questions about programming and all that stuff. but we have to build that bridge first, because the people who currently work and operate the building are not in charge of any of the decisions. So we need to, if we want it to have a different feel and different programming, we need to approach that with Impact Northwest.
Okay.
It's not currently operated to be that kind of a community center.
I know, but why? Who made that decision? A long time ago, years ago, right?
Maria, your hand's up.
Yes, does every neighborhood by the city charter, or I don't know what, have a right for a community center? Is that a privilege? Is that, how is that, could we ask for another one if that's already taken by Northwest Impact, for another building that they kind of give to us?
Gail says in the chat that we fought to have ours, and I would say based on what happened with the Woodstock Community Center, I don't think that we have rights to any community centers unless we work to make them, because
so there's
seem to guarantee community centers to any neighborhood, even if they already have one.
Does anybody have any links for like where this could be read up on, portland.gov or something like that?
Gail is our main authority on the community center at this point, because she was around when it was built. And yeah, so it's got a unique history, and I think we need to connect with Andy and start there. It was built in 1996, Gail says. So let's start there. Let's start working with Impact Northwest. We can uncover the history, but it's going to be a long process. Anything else this evening?
No.
Okay. Stephanie, I will connect you and Scott and the land use committee and everybody. I'll start by connecting you with Andy, and then hopefully we can maybe bring him to a land use committee and bring up all of these concerns and questions and ideas for art and improvement and community building.
Okay, that would be super, Chelsea. Thank you.
And Gail says it's a long story, so maybe we can get Gail to that one.
Maybe we better get Gail to the one before that one.
Right. All right, we'll go sit down and do an interview with Gail so everybody can get up to speed. All right. I'm going to go ahead and close out the meeting for tonight. Thank you to everyone who attended. Really, really appreciate it. And as usual, this recording will go up on YouTube. So share it with your friends or pretend you were never on it. Your choice. All right. Last reminder, we have Land Use Committee is next Thursday, 7 to 9. And the All Committees is the third Tuesday, which happens to be March 16th from 5 to 7. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for coming.